Hi, welcome back. So Year 9 this week have carried on their topic on personal finance, and this week they looked at saving and borrowing. We talked about credit cards and debit cards, explain what the difference is. We talked about how with credit cards, they're not necessarily the evil that perhaps we make them out to be. It's all about how well we know ourselves. If we trust ourselves, then there's all sorts of perks. You get interest-free credit on things. You get insurance if you buy something over £50, I think. But we talked about if you only make minimum payment, how that works, how it can roll over and get far bigger, and how actually the safer choice is probably not to do any of this in the first place. But we wanted to make sure that they were informed about that. We also compared them to store cards and talked about the way store cards work. And again, a very similar thing where I'll rock up to a till and I can get 10% off if I take one out, and that's great. But I then need to know what I've taken on, keep the money to one side, pay it off at the end, or avoid it altogether because I recognise it's a form of debt that's a very expensive way of borrowing. What we also did is we talked about how actually if you're struggling with managing your money, then perhaps the best thing to do is to withdraw cash at the beginning and then just use that for the week, because you can see it going down in a way that you can't with a card. And also it feels real, because we keep reminding them that finance isn't about maths, it's about choices. So if I choose to spend cash, then I know it feels real, it feels like I'm spending money, and I'll spend less. So it's a psychology thing more than it is a maths thing. We talked about borrowing money, and we talked about things like when you go to buy a car and how the dealer will talk about the small figure. Can you afford £200 a month, sir? And you feel like you're getting a car for 200 quid because they only ever talk about the small number. Can I afford that every month? Rather than looking at the big overall figure, and how what we need to do is have the courage to walk away from those scenarios, get out our phone, type in loan calculator, and again, it's not maths, it's choices. I type in loan calculator online. If ever I'm going to borrow money, type in loan calculator. Put in the amount I want to borrow, put in the percentage rate, see what it comes out at. I can borrow at the bank for about 4%. Why would I borrow at 20-odd% from some car dealership? But people do, because they don't check. So we're explaining how loan calculators work and how you can get far more value if you can be patient. What we also then did is look at the flip side of that and saving, and we talked about compound interest. If I can start saving early, I can stop early. If I stay from the age of 20 to 30 and get plenty of money saved up in an ISA somewhere, I can leave it and the interest will compound on itself and get far bigger, far better than if I save later and then have to do it for longer. It won't grow as much. So the compound interest, and I know in today's interest rates that's not great, but the principle's the same, that if we start saving early, it makes it a little easier. So there's some of the key messages we landed today. Hopefully that was of use, and I will speak to you all next week.